Hello.
Hello, Emily.
Hi, Sarah. How are you doing?
Okay, let me tilt my camera down just a little, then up just a little,
Up and down and left and right.
up and down and left and right. Yeah, there we go.
If
That's
you
as good.
see me looking over here, this is my large monitor where I always look when I'm typing, but this
Uh-huh.
is where the camera is.
Right.
So I'll
Yeah.
try to focus on you. How are you doing this evening?
Okay. I mean, I'll find out how we're really doing later.
So, why don't you introduce yourself to us? Tell us
Okay.
your what you do and what you know about technology, and then we'll just launch in from there.
All right. I've been a writer for about 30 years and I've been involved in high tech for about 40 years.
Wow.
Um, I had my first job in AI in starting in 1980, and just about that time, I got involved in the Best in Computer Society and got introduced to my first, oh boy, I can use this for my writing tool, which was Lotus Agenda. And I have been a big fan of fast and cheap writing tools ever since.
Oh, yes. We're all looking for that.
Yeah, has to be good, has to be powerful, has to be cheap.
Yes, and it has to be quick to learn. If there's a huge learning curve, I'm going to leave at a certain point.
Uh-huh. Um, I I make a couple of exceptions, one is Scrivener, because you
Mhm.
can learn it chunk by chunk. But yeah, it has to be easy to use, even if it's
Yes.
not entirely easy to learn.
Hmm. Yes. I,
Yeah.
I I started with MS-DOS, and then I went to Microsoft Word, and I thought 3.11 was an exceptional program. So
Oh, yes.
I have grown up with Microsoft Word, and because of that,
Oh,
I'm used
yeah.
to all of the changes and all of the way that it works. And the other like Microsoft PowerPoint and Publisher, I knew all of those, and I could do those with my eyes closed almost after spending
Mm,
over 30 years with them. And so it has been easy for me to learn to use Microsoft Word for formatting my paperbacks.
yeah.
But other people
Yeah.
talk about how hard it is. Um, and I can understand that when I look back and I think about my sister. She is in the design business and doesn't use Microsoft Word. She uses other
Mhm.
programs, and
Yeah.
so there's a big barrier for her in that
Yeah.
respect.
Those of us who got started early
Hmm.
really have an advantage that anybody can learn.
Yes,
Those popular programs are popular because a lot of people have learned how to use them and
yes,
find them helpful, even though it takes a little while to get used to them. So
that is true.
tools are good.
Okay, tell us how you got to into writing and into tech in writing.
Oh golly, I started I started telling stories when I was 4 years old,
Hmm.
5 years old. I was in Japan and we had a Japanese maid who would tell me ghost stories at night. And then I would tell the ghost stories on the bus the next morning. Audience. I got addicted to audience. And why did I start writing historicals about the early 20th century?
Hmm.
Well, my grandmother lived in a house that had last been updated in 1910.
Oh, wow.
And there was stuff. I mean, the house was full of stuff from like four or five generations of the family.
Hmm. Yes.
And we would we would get up in the morning and we would go downstairs and get two heads of coal and come upstairs and put the um, newspaper in the coal stove and then the kindling in the coal stove, lay the fire, start the fire, get the fire going, and about half an hour after that, they'd be hot there.
Hmm.
So I know the Victorian period.
Yes. Yes. I can talk to you about the 1920s and 1930s because my mother grew up telling us those stories, and
Exactly.
and they had a good morning heater in their house, and it took up most of the living room, and my grandpa would put coal in it, and he would get up like an hour before everybody else to
Hmm.
feed the stove so the house would warm up before everybody else got up.
Yep, that was my grandfather too.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's such a different world now.
Yes, it definitely is.
My latest book I was writing about New York in 1912,
Hmm.
and I kept thinking if they only had cell phones, none of these issues would happen. But of course they didn't have cell phones and they kept missing each other, and it was so hard for them, just the way we like it to be.
I'm contemplating a story that's going to be set in 1925, and I'm going to have someone who is in I guess, a transcontinental telephone call, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I can have him here, and then no, he can't be there because they would not have had access to a telephone at that place,
Hmm.
and so I'm thinking, wait, now I've got to move him over here now, and it's so hard to think about all of that when you're writing historicals.
Oh, it is. It is.
Hmm.
And yet it's so much fun
Yes.
because the history suggests things to you. I'm
Hmm.
reading a book now, Oh, the White Spaces by Ali, I forget her last name, but you can look it up, which is
Hmm.
all about an expedition to the Antarctic in 1925. And oh my gosh. No, a little bit earlier than that, 1920.
Hmm.
And the the weather and the technology and the lack of technology just wraps them round. It's
Hmm.
fascinating.
Yes. I haven't read Shackelford's Journey, and but
South,
everyone on that
yes.
ship with him was just like, oh my word, the what they had to
Uh-huh.
survive, and the bare bones that they had to get down to in order to survive,
Mm,
and that was
hmm.
just the 20th century, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And in this book and also to a degree as I remember in South, they keep thinking, well, this man is just about to die. Is this the point at which we become cannibals?
And you don't even
Otherwise,
want to think about that.
uh, there were these good British post-World War One gentlemen and officers and cannibals yet?
I never wanted to teach Lord of the Flies
Mm,
because it's unspoken in the book. And I just don't want to contemplate that, and I
yeah.
didn't want to bring it up to my students, and so I was always I tiptoed around that book the whole time I was in my teaching career.
Mm, hmm.
Yeah.
Yes,
Now
I
you
used
have
to
a
teach.
PowerPoint to give us.
I do. I just wanted to add, I used to teach film. I taught Psycho 10 times, and I've never yet seen the scene in the cellar. I'm always like this.
Always cover your eyes.
Uh-huh. Okay, we're going to talk about tours. So I have a PowerPoint sharing is not turned on. So I'm going to send a request to you to let me share my screen. If we don't manage to do this, we'll have the PowerPoint available I think as part of the podcast. Is that right, Emily?
Yes, I'm hoping to
Yeah.
put it on the website
Uh-huh.
so that other people can access it. And if they can't access the PowerPoint, they'll at least be able to get the outline of the PowerPoint.
Oh,
Um,
sure. Yeah.
yes,
And
but hopefully the
either
whole thing will go up there.
uh-huh. Either one is good because it'll give you a lot of links to the various tools.
Yes.
Shall we try sharing again?
Yes.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Okay, I'm going to share my screen
Oh,
and
access to tools.
access to tools. You can see it. Yay,
Yes.
wow. Okay. So I separated the tools access into what you want to do with the tools, of course.
hmm
And the first thing I always want to do is plan and plot because I am a terrible plotter. I've written I don't know how many books at this point. Fewer than I should have because I spend so much time trying to plot them out. So
hmm
I have tried Platter, and I like it for people who are just starting out, figuring out what the particular story is, because it
hmm
has lots of templates and it'll tell you about things like beats.
hmm
What I don't like about it is that it has a very small space for actually entering what's happening in your book. And if you have a lot of characters and a lot of scenes, it gets to be, for me at least, too small. Um, there's an
And I'm
alternative.
glad you're saying this because I had thought about Plotter earlier in the year and was thinking about investing in it, but I need a huge space when I'm plotting.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, me too.
mhm.
You might also look at causality, Emily,
Okay.
um, which is a kind of the same thing with a different interface.
Okay.
And we were talking about tools that are easy and tools that are hard. To me, if it has a good interface, it's much easier.
Okay. Good.
Um, Scrivener. Scrivener, I think, is great for plotting because it has that outline view.
hmm
I did a couple of my books where I only used Scrivener for the outline view and I used Word for writing it. And then decided that was dumb. But uh, you can merge scenes, you can split them, you can move things around. You have the summary of the scene available if you write it. And of course, you can put the text of the scene right there. We'll see Scrivener for the one or two of your podcast listeners who have never come across it a little bit later.
Okay.
Scappa. Scappa is the other product that Literature and Latte puts out. And it's much less well known than it should be. It's cheap too. It's like 20 bucks. It
hmm
is an infinite whiteboard. And if you are a visualist sort of person, then you can just make the whiteboard enormously long, enormously big, and make links between various parts of the scene and then re edit them so it comes out to be an outline. And then you can drag and drop it into Scrivener.
Okay.
Um, so finally, Airtable. Airtable is a mega database, and you can keep track of scenes and characters and places if you have a gazillion of them. And I wrote an article about it, which there's a link on.
Okay. I see that
Okay,
link.
yeah, writing. Word, of course, you have to have Word
hmm
because it's the standard. Whatever else you have Word. Scrivener, excuse me. I used to think Scrivener is only for complex projects. And then I started using it for articles and short stories. And increasingly, I'm using it for everything from brainstorming onward. As we said, there is a significant learning curve for Scrivener if you try to learn everything at once. So just don't learn everything at once.
Okay.
You
Is
can
there a
learn the
limit
out.
to how many projects it will hold?
No,
Because I sometimes have five different projects going on, and a sixth one is over here hovering in my brain. Uh,
uh-huh. You can open up more than one copy of Scrivener at the same time. I have one project that basically just keeps bubbling in my computer all the time, and it's probably a 5-volume project, so it's big, but I can open up other projects as well. So Scrivener has everything. It has the outline. We mentioned the outline. It has tags. You can tag scenes with anything you want. Characters, point of view, state of the manuscript, color coding one tag in the outline.
Oh, I
And
like that.
yeah, this is so cool. Um, Here, for instance, I have everything color coded by whose point of view it is. Um, so here's one character, and then there's another character, and two more characters, and then this one character. And just because most of the scenes are tagged by point of view, this one isn't. It's I don't know whether I'm at the scene in or not. And then later on, actually, I could do that in the actual Scrivener file, but then there are pink ones where I don't know who's going to do this point of view yet.
Hmm.
Um, so uh, you can search on anything throughout your project, and you can keep a list of where that thing appears. You can search on things like tags, so you can
Okay.
have an alternate outline of all of the scenes that are told by one person's point of view. And if you put in a new scene told from that person's point of view, the list updates automatically, which is very
Okay.
good.
That's nice. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Uh,
um, and you can have a summary, and I'll show you that. Um, whoops. Uh, Scene again. You can have comments and particular things, and then when you go back to revise, you can go through your comments and say, okay, um, Hella said this about my treatment of this thing here.
hmm.
Uh,
It's like sticky notes in the manuscript because I know sometimes I have a lot of sticky notes.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it's like sticky notes, and again, it just works very nicely.
yes.
So, quick, neat, free little tool. Um, Beef text. I think I can show you beef text here. Maybe I can't. Do you see it?
I'm seeing words about it, but I don't see the program.
Uh, no, I guess I'm sharing the program file and not the screen. So never
Okay.
mind. Beef text creates alternatives for pieces of text you use frequently or text that's difficult to type.
Hmm.
So for instance, um, I'm writing this book with a lot of Portuguese words in it for my sins. Um, and so I have this word consolação, and I put it into beef text, and the alt text for it is CSCN. So I type CSCN in anything, including Google search, and it turns into consolação.
Oh, that's nice.
Isn't
That's
that
that's
nice?
really nice. I wrote a
Again,
story that had oh shoot, I can't remember what it is. It was set in Spain. Um, it's that odd dialect Spanish,
oh
and there
yeah,
was a lot of
Basque.
that in the story. And
Yeah.
that was very hard to make sure that it was incorporated correctly.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
that
Yeah.
this would have been very handy for that.
Yeah. Um, and it's free. It's an open source tool. It's a little bit different to learn because it you have to back up a single file, but once you learn that, it's all right.
Hmm.
Uh Reverso, translating. You went to, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You need somebody to translate this sentence into French. And your friend who knows French is asleep and will kill you if they are waked. So you use something like Reverso. There are thousands of these things, but I like
Mhm.
Reverso because it's cute.
Okay.
Um, this is an actual example from Reverso. I am going to curse your piano. Okay. It has a downloadable app, and again, it's pretty much free, although they'd love to have you pay for it.
Okay.
Editing. Everybody says, do you use Grammarly? And why not? There are a number of things that will give you word suggestions. I don't have a favorite. I have
Hmm.
Grammarly. Um, yeah. And I do like Hemingway app. Hemingway app makes suggestions about the readability of your manuscript. And for instance, when you're writing this stuff about what the book's about on the back of the book, it has to be easy to read, like fourth grade level.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Hemingway will tell you that.
That's a good idea.
Mm.
That's a very good idea. Because
Free
book
online,
descriptions
you
are
can
hard
buy
to
the
write.
program, and it's cheap. Huh?
Mhm. Book descriptions are very hard to write, and anything that
Oh
makes that
man.
job easier.
Yeah, and they say you can use a large language model for that. But I have never come up with a summary that I like from a large language model.
Hmm.
Anyway, moving on. Formatting. When you get your manuscript into its final shape. Um, I format in Word. I currently move my text out of Scrivener and into Word for formatting. Scrivener can do this. This is just me not wanting to deal with Scrivener formatting because when I'm ready to make my book into its final manuscript, I'm gonna have to learn Scrivener formatting and compilation. Someday it's gonna happen. Scrivener
Well,
can do
as
it.
you said, you learn it in clumps of information.
You learn it in chunks of information, and
Yeah.
I haven't needed to learn that one yet.
Hmm.
So how about publishing your own books? A lot of us do.
Yes.
Um, printing and cover art. Um, we talked about using Word for interior design. It's
Hmm.
not that hard. I have a little like 15-page manuscript that I ought to put up on my website, and maybe by the time this is this is done, I will. So look on www.sarahsmith.com. It takes about 2 hours to format a book, the interior text of a book.
Hmm. Yeah.
And if you want to, here again, this one, I don't know if you can see that.
Yes, I can see. You can get the idea of what you're talking about, um, with the gutters and things.
Yeah, the gutter thing. If you want to go higher end, typically people who want to spend a lot of money on software use the Adobe Creative Suite,
Mhm.
which costs like $33 a month.
I don't have
No,
that kind of money.
not cheap. Um, I use Affinity Publisher in the Affinity Serif suite of tools, which I cannot recommend highly enough.
Hmm.
They work with Canva, which is a good low end thing. Um, I think Canva recently bought Affinity. Um, the the Affinity suite is better than the Adobe suite for technical reasons that we don't get into.
Mhm.
having to do with not killing your original design, but having it available. And it is much, much cheaper. A license for one of the Canva products is like 69 bucks currently. Um, and you can buy the whole thing for like 169.
Yeah.
And currently, as of this time that we're talking, which is November 2024, they are offering a 6-month free trial.
That's
You owe
good.
it to yourself. They're even better for cover art. This cover art was done with Affinity Photo. Um, Again, you can use Canva. I don't, though I use it for other things. Um, and here's, come on, come on. Oops, sorry about that. Here's some more Affinity Photo designs. Um, Again, produced with a 70-buck program. Um, and I have people who have said, "Who's your designer?" And wanted to hire my designer.
I
And
like
my,
those designs. Those are good.
yeah,
Mhm.
thank you. It's just a wonderful program and very flexible, um, and produces gorgeous results.
Mhm.
So publishing your own ebooks. Um, I do not recommend KDP Creator, which is the Amazon KDP thing that they say, oh, you should use this. Well, it's very manual. It takes a long, long time. What I like, and this is just me, but a lot of other people like it too, is Draft to Digital. Draft to Digital not only prepares a decent EPUB from your Word file for free, but it lets you download it so you can
Mhm.
upload it into Amazon. It works fine. Draft to Digital is also a distributor. That's where they make most of their money. They
Mhm.
distribute your book to multiple distributors all around the world, and then the little dribs and drabs of money just keep coming in.
Yes.
Nice people, very helpful if you need any help. Um, Draft to Digital, I love them. If you want total control, there's something called disadvantage of this is you have to know HTML. If that scares you, Draft to Digital. Scrivener will do it too. Scrivener will create ebooks. I have an article on this. I have never done it except for the time that I did it to create the ebook
Right.
for this article. Um, and I wanted to talk a little bit about creating your own audiobooks
Oh, great.
because we can do that now.
Mhm.
This is something that you can do in your office, sitting at your desk. Um, It is considerably less far along than doing ebooks and goodness knows, planning and writing your book, but it's
Mhm.
getting better all the time. Again, I'm going to disrecommend an Amazon product. Amazon is saying, hey, you gotta turn your book into a virtual voice book. The output is really, really bad and doesn't sound actually like a human being and will lose you readers, at
Mhm.
least
Yes.
audiobook readers. So I don't recommend it. Um, you can prepare the script with any one of a number of what they call large language models. So that, for instance, you can break out which character is saying which piece of text. And
Mhm.
this is very important because usually the characters in an audiobook are differentiated, even if just a little bit, by the voices they use. And you can do that with Claude. There are a number of editors. I recommend Audacity because it's free. Reaper is about $60. Isotope is $400.
Oh, that's a lot.
And Positron is like $30-40 a month. You can get very into very expensive tools very fast here. You have to get a decent microphone and probably a tone arm and set it all up. And there's a good course on this by Per Jenkins. And he is also of the free or cheap group. And whoops, all right. So Per Jenkins. I think the course is $9.95 or $13.95. If you're interested in recording anything of your own, well worth taking. AI generated voices. They're getting better. My current take on it is they are good enough for a lot of narration, and they're not good enough for dialogue.
That's true. They do not get intonation.
They do not get intonations. This is not entirely unlike actual voiceover artists who sometimes also don't get the accents and the intonations right. And if you don't, if you don't control of your voices, you're probably going to want something that both generates text to speech, that is, takes text and turns it into decent narration, and does something called speech to speech, which means I put in the speech exactly as I want it to sound, and it comes out with exactly that intonation, but in the voice you choose.
Oh, that sounds good.
Ooh, that is good.
Because if you've written a character that has an accent and you
exactly.
can, oh, that would be wonderful.
And I have managed to do that sort of thing, turning my voice into a male voice, so I don't have to. This particular person is speaking fairly low and in a heavy New Hampshire accent. So I don't have to do that for hour after hour. I can make that voice, and then I can change my voice into that voice, and it keeps you from killing your voice.
Yes.
So 11 Labs is currently the only consumer product that has both text to speech and speech to speech. They're not cheap, but they're reasonable. Descript. Descript will let you load up an audio and it'll create the transcript. And Descript will, and if you edit the transcript, Descript will automatically edit the sound. So, if the audio excuse me, if the audio says 67 and you now want 68, you can edit the transcript, and automatically it'll take the sound of the audio, and instead of 67, it'll be 68.
Oh, that's good.
In its edited audio. So I'm going to end with an offer, which is that I'm trying to find out more about what people really need and want with audiobooks, especially audiobooks that are partially generated with AI tools. I'm interviewing authors about their audio experiences and needs and what you want. The first 25 authors who volunteer for a 30-minute interview are going to get a free consultation about using AI tools to create audiobooks.
I'll
And
definitely have to
where
promote that to people.
we are
That's
going to figure out how we all want to use audiobooks and how we can make that decision.
yes.
So I have the link and I have the QR code that goes to the same link, and you can just sign up for an interview with me,
Okay.
if you will. Thank you.
Okay.
And so I'll stop sharing.
Well, all of that was fantastic information. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Well, I'm sorry that I galloped through it so fast that
Well, you have to. There's so much going that you have to talk about. But you did tell us a lot of
that
information about them.
there are so many wonderful tools.
Yes.
And fortunately your podcast audience excuse me, I have a horrible cold.
Mhm.
Your podcast audience will all be able to stop it and take notes and think of whatever.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We are running out of time. So thank you very much, Sarah. And put something on your
Thank you
throat.
so much, Emily. Yeah, that because I have my voice cloned, I can keep working on my audiobook even while I have a voice like this. You
That's
all take
true.
care now.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.